America will win over 100 medals at the Olympics.
Yep.
And so each individual gold medal is perceived as not being that important. Whereas Canada will win 20 something medals. So every medal that Canada wins, we believe is important. We take pride in those medals. And so I would say the difference is, or the difference for me is when I'm watching I am watching for Canadian victories, and American victories are inconsequential. I don't think you probably haven't been here long enough to feel that way, or do you?
Well, again, because I'm watching essentially the American coverage. My prism is
Right.
sort of through the United States. So, I'm getting like an overload of Noah Lyles when he wins. I'm getting an overload of Simone Biles as she wins.
Of
I'm not
course.
getting that. But you're totally right, Bob. I'll give you a perfect example. The Canadian men's hammer thrower. Great story, right? Just won a gold
Right.
medal.
Ethan
Yeah,
Katzberg.
yeah, Ethan Katzberg just won a medal yesterday. Uh, his equivalent, okay, in the United States, there was a guy who won the shot put. Ryan, I wish I'm blanking on his last name. Anyway, the amount of coverage that he got, Bob, because it's a field event, was minuscule compared to Simone Biles or
Of course. Yeah.
Biles, where the Canadian hammer guy, I am sure on the
Ryan
CBC,
Krauser, by the way.
Ryan Krauser, thank you. Where I'm sure the CBC went massive on the Canadian hammer winner, as they should.
To some extent. Yep.
Yeah, and it's exactly what you said, Bob. The reality is Canada's going to finish ninth, 10th overall, whatever in medals. So every medal means a lot more than the United States, who, at the pool, what they do, they just rolled up 20 something medals during just one swimming meet. So, and I think that's great. I actually like that about living in Canada, in that it does feel to me that when someone wins an Olympic medal, it just feels so much bigger
It
because
is. Yeah, it is bigger.
you know what I mean? Because it's not going to be, because they're not going to get 140 medals over the course of one Olympics. So
Of
I'm
course.
with you on that. Yeah, I feel like Summer McIntosh, like her performance feels as massive as Leon Marchand's performance. It just feels like the singular best athlete for the Olympic Games from a country.
Yep.
And it's
I get
funny,
it.
I found Dan Hicks and Rowdy Gaines trying to give Summer McIntosh more due than most people would expect, because there was such an overflow of passion for Kaylee Ledecky.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yet every once in a while, during a Ledecky swim, they would remind everybody, hey, there's somebody else that's pretty good in the pool.
Right now, by the way, I'm not saying they're doing this with deep state surreptitious kind of thoughts. But John, the reality is they should do this because Summer McIntosh is going to be a major star for the Los Angeles Games, which
Right.
benefits NBC. I mean, if you're NBC, yeah, of course you need American stars, but you need the counter, right? You need, if there's a Katie Ledecky, you need a Summer McIntosh to sell that program.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I actually find the American coverage less patriotic than it has been in decades past.
I agree.
I think that there has been more conscious effort to talk about Marchand, to talk
Yeah.
about McIntosh, to talk about some of the other great non-American stories.
Rebecca Andrade from like gymnastics. Yeah, I mean, like the NBC, to their credit, and I will give them credit for this. I know in their seminars, and maybe this happened with you, John, at CBC, they tell their announcers time and time again, do not say we, do not say us, third person, third person. It's hard. Now, Dwayne Wade, for his first couple of basketball games, was saying we. You can't blame the guy. I mean, the guy's obviously played with LeBron and all these guys. But NBC, to their credit, they have tried not to sort of over the top flag wave. I will say this, having covered the 2012 London Games in England, I've never seen a more over the top patriotic coverage than the British during that Olympics. I mean, their broadcasters lost all semblance of objectivity and were absolutely cheering their people on.
I do think that happens when you host the games, because Bob and I have talked about this before. Is that what changed in so many ways for Canadians was Vancouver. We became much more patriotic, much more flag waving in that period of time. And I'm not just talking about the men's and women's hockey team. I'm talking about all the other great individual sports
Yeah.
that we saw.
That's what happens when you win,
And,
right? When you start winning more medals, people get into it.
Exactly.
yeah, I think you're right. I do think that that's a factor. Is that and by the way, we liked how it felt rather. We liked how it felt, and
I mean,
it was kind of cool.
I will say this: nobody punches their weight more at an Olympics than Norway, based on population and results. But Canada is in like the group of punching above its population weight historically. Like the United States and China should absolutely roll in every Olympics. It's math, right? Or capitalism. But for Canada to be a top 10 Summer Olympics nation is an excellent result given their population.
Yep.
Yeah, given where their population is against the rest of the world.
Now the other thing that should be noted is that I think our most successful summer games was Los Angeles in '84.
No Russians, right?
No Russians.
Yeah.
And here we are again in 2024, no Russians.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
And by the way, I have not missed not having the Russians there. Have you,
No.
Richard? And not that it should be mentioned, but it's a non-factor.
Not just enough. First of all, they shouldn't be at the Olympics given the Ukrainian situation.
Right.
If someone wants to be mad at me on this podcast or getting into politics, boo-hoo. One, two. I got an issue with a lot of the Chinese swimmers being at the Olympics. I mean, the IOC essentially looked the other way on that. But no, the Olympics, to its credit, John and Bob, in my opinion, has matured where it's not East versus West anymore, and like the Cold War kind of in the pool. Now it's just basically like the greatest athletes in the world, and you could be excited if it's like Canada versus the United States. Like it doesn't have to be the evil empire versus the virtuous like West or something like that. So no, I don't miss the Russians at all. One and two, their recent history in terms of state-sponsored doping, etc. There's an athletic argument to be made that they shouldn't necessarily be at the Olympics. But I'm such a cynic when it comes to the IOC. They're a terrible organization. They care only about money. They don't really care about, I don't even think, keeping their sport clean. And as long as the coffers continue to get filled from the broadcasting companies, that's all they really care about.